On the Royal Adelaide.
Hi everybody. Can you hear me if I yell from here? Okay, good. I represent the big bad hospital. Well, that's what everybody thinks. And they think that, we're big, we're anonymous, we're hierarchical, we're all these things. But I don't know whether my interns tell me fibs or something because they think I want to hear this. But every year when I do my interviews, all the interns, they've all had a ball. So what I hope to sell you is that even though we're big and we're all those other things, we're actually quite a cozy place, and it's like a little township, and you get to know everybody. So I hope that the bigness doesn't put you off. Is this rotating? It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be rotating. What can I tell you? Many of you probably have done rotations here, and for those of you who haven't, we offer a full gamut. We have had 92 interns here this year. And we anticipate we'll have 92. It may be 93, but it's most likely going to be 92. But next year will be different because we will be part of the Central Adelaide Area Health Network. And what that is going to mean is you're going to be, as I think David Patterson already indicated, you're going to be preferencing a network. But once you've preferenced a network, you'd be asked to nominate what your preference hospital is within the network. Now, clearly everyone's not going to get every preference, but we will make every effort to try and give you your first preference. If you nominate a hospital within a network which has been more heavily subscribed to than the other, then what will happen is how you're allocated will be done randomly. So it won't be based on any particular thing like your CV or anything like that. It'll be chance. It'll be being, sort of up in the air random type of allocation. But what we'll try and do, obviously, is to try and give you as close to your first preference as possible. I can't predict how many people are going to preference the Central Area Network, so I can't predict the chances, but hopefully everyone will get as close to their first preference as possible. But I think I'd really like to echo what Dana said earlier, which is that really wherever you do your internship in South Australia, I think you will get a very good training. We're very lucky in South Australia. I think we provide one of the best training experiences in the state. I sit on a number of interstate committees of training programs and things, and I think because we're relatively small and fairly self-contained, we provide a very good training program here. At the Royal Adelaide, just to go back to the network again, whatever base hospital within the centre that you're allocated to, you will spend at least one of the 5 rotations off campus. And that might be, say for example, we've got 5 rotations to the Women's and Children's Hospital, we've got 7 rotations out to general practice, most of which are country general practice and count as part of your ED term. We've also got rotations out to psychiatry at Glenside, to rehab at Hampstead, and this year for the first time 2 interns per rotation have also gone across to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and 2 of the QE interns have come across to the Royal Adelaide Hospital. So every intern allocated to the centre will get at least one rotation out of the 5 off campus to one of these external rotations. The very odd intern might get, well, it's very odd, I mean, very few interns might get 2 rotations off campus. For example, if someone's desperately wanting to do pediatrics and also a GP rotation, they may get 2 rotations off. But we're going to try and limit that as much as possible, because I do think it's important, particularly from us in terms of supervising you and supporting you, that you have at least a substantial number of rotations in any one base hospital. We have a variety of terms. You've all heard of general medicine, general surgery, a range of subspecialty terms, vascular, cardiothoracic, a whole range of other things like that. So there's a wide spectrum of rotations. And we also have quite good social facilities. The RMO's society here is very strong, and they do all sorts of exciting things. I mean, for the foreseeable future, until we move to the so-called new RAH, we still are going to have the Jolly Bar. But the sad thing is that once we move to the new RAH, the Jolly Bar is going to disappear. It's very sad. But there's going to be a spectacular RMO's lounge in the new hospital too, so at least that's going to be maintained. Now, in terms of educational opportunities, I'm the Director of Clinical Training at the Royal Adelaide. Joe is the Deputy Director of Clinical Training, and we also have 2 medical education officers and quite a tightly knit postgraduate medical education unit that looks after the welfare of all junior doctors, including PGY2s. We provide quite a very similar, training program to the other hospitals that do that. We have simulation training that's available. You'll get a 5-day orientation. You'll have a weekly intern meeting, which is also protected time with lunch, and departmental meetings and grand rounds. So those kind of learning and experiences are all available. But you're adults. You have to vote with your own feet. We encourage you to go to as many things as possible, but it's up to you to make the most of that opportunity, hopefully, while you are here. Being in a big teaching hospital has got its upsides, which is that there's an absolute plethora of departmental meetings and teaching sessions and all that's happening. And it's, really, you're very welcome to attend all of those, and we'd really like to see you make the most of that opportunity. And I guess one of the things that you probably don't realize is that so much of your learning in your intern year is by osmosis. It's being exposed to specialists, being exposed to registrars and other interns, and so much of your learning is by osmosis. Your book learning days will not be the main thing of your intern year. It is what you gather by the clinical experience. So I think, I don't want to sort of sound boring and reiterative, but I'm very happy, as I'm sure all the others are, in taking any questions that you want addressed about internship.
Okay, so we might open up for questions generally, so if you can address who you want to address the question to, so yep.
I'm not sure that these details may not have been fleshed out yet, but with regards to the centre network, if you are allocated to the QEH, is there the possibility to do rotations at external sites that are traditionally in the province of the Royal Adelaide, for example, obstetrics, women and kids, or psychiatry, or AMSS?
No, each hospital will continue to run its off-site location. Otherwise, it just gets too difficult to. If we are swapping all the external sites as well. So the answer at that moment is no. Each hospital will operate its own external site. Just one other thing I should say: when you after everyone's been allocated to the hospital, we will at the Royal Adelaide will send out a preference request sheet to say what rotations you want. Preference. And on that sheet, it will ask you to preference your medical rotations, your surgical rotations, and your non-core rotations, and ED rotations. And each of them have got a little section underneath that allows you to put in why you particularly want those. If you've got any special reasons you want that, put that in, and we'll try and address that. Now, clearly, we can't give everybody every first preference because it's just sometimes not possible. But it takes us about 3 days, about 5 of us work on it, and it takes us about 3 days to actually get your rotations right, but we do our damned hardest to meet as many of your preferences as possible.
Okay, there's a hand at the back, yep.
What's the process of getting pediatric rotations this year? Last year had to start in January.
From which hospital are you talking about?
But it will central network things.
Well, from the Royal Adelaide, we've got 4 rotations out to peds, and Queen Elizabeth have also got rotations out to peds. So this year has been much easier giving peds rotation than we've had in the past.
They had to sort of start the process earlier in the year in terms of the application last year. We were told that
I'm not sure what you mean by that. What?
there was the person that interviewed was getting in, he was emailed in May or something.
Who's they?
Who is they?
The interns from this year were advising us to do that. But then
No, I think Lindsay probably highlighted what you do. You put it on your preference form with your intern application. It's not
But
a
who is
separate
interviewing you? We
process.
don't interview any interns.
The 60s last year were interviewed for the pediatric position.
Not for internship.
Yeah.
They weren't. I had the program
Well, with the same for obstetrics, we're supposed to talk to guy called Chris Lodesi, and he's left now. So
Okay, I see what you're saying. People went and spoke to the women's and children's people, and you want to do that, you can. But the allocations happen from here.
So that's a perverse system where you go and speak to people who actually have you on their unit eventually if you get the term, but the allocations aren't done by them, so it's a bit misleading and strange. I don't know, we can't explain that.
I guess the other thing on that is that there may be some confusion with the RMO application process.
Yeah, I think David's right. The RMO application process for things is often like that. You go and express interest early.
Well,
but
it is merit-based, and you do interviews and things like that, so certainly for RMO positions, partway through your intern year, you probably will have that opportunity.
So this afternoon I got a call from Women's and Children's saying to me, I've had a call saying, people want to know how to apply for an internship here. We don't do internships here. So the office there rang me and I said, tell the student to come here. So I don't know. What you're describing isn't what we understand.
No internship position is interviewed for. Okay, it's certainly done in PGY 2.
Yep.
We're still a bit confused. Wondering if you can clarify the process for us, people who are allocated to the central network to decide whether they're going to be based primarily at the Royal Adelaide or at the QEH. Is there any details about that yet?
That's what I was telling you earlier. You will be asked to nominate your primary preference. Okay. We will try and match that as much as possible. But if, for example, one hospital A has got more people applying for it than hospital B, and hospital B has got vacancies, then how hospital A is allocated will be randomly done. Does that answer your question?
Is it possible that you could be allocated every rotation at the QEH, for
Yeah,
example?
sure.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
and conversely every rotation
Yeah.
at the Royal Adelaide?
Yeah, but as I said, whichever base hospital you're allocated to, you'll spend one rotation out of that hospital.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yep.
And this question is very difficult to answer because we haven't got the Northern Network here tonight. But has there been any talk of getting this information to us before we have to apply?
Getting what information?
The information about how they decide home hospitals and all those kind of things.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know.
For the Northern, because it's very hard to make an informed choice without the information there.
They're aware that they need to work it out. They've been asked to provide information. As soon as the information is made available to us, we will put it up on our website, and that's all I can say.
Someone's putting pressure on them to get it out in time for us.
Well, it'll certainly be up in time, I presume, before the application's closed.
You sound like the
I hope
woman
so.
for the job. Okay.
For people who are considering applying interstate as well, what sort of timeline is behind getting your offer and finding out what hospital you get within a network?
So in terms of interstate applications, there is a nationally agreed date for applications closing. There's a nationally agreed date that offers start. So all states and territories will start making offers on the, I think it was the 29th of July. That's nationally agreed. In terms of after that, then it depends of course on how many positions they've got, how many applicants they've got, how many applicants there are in each of those categories or priority groups as to how quickly they will move through their own local students.
So I meant more in relation to when we find out what hospital we get within a network, what our home hospital is.
In terms of that, you're probably likely to get offers interstate before you know your home hospital, I would think. But I don't know, I guess that depends up to the networks.
Would it be a reasonable expectation to think that you will find out your home hospital before the deadline for declining an offer interstate occurs, or do we?
That would depend on whenever they interstate put a time frame for you to accept or decline an offer. And nationally what's being talked about is 48 to 72 hours once an offer is made in order to move through it quickly and get as many people jobs as soon as possible.
Okay, so no.
For your preference between the networks that goes through like where you're from and internationals are down the bottom, is that?
You're not right down the bottom, there's one category below you.
Some states have two categories.
And so I was just wondering, so if I get like Northern Network or something, it's alum at Modbury, does that choice go to like home students first, or is that the same principle?
Sorry, I'm not sure
What your question is.
what the question is.
Do international students get allocated to home hospitals differently to domestic students?
No,
Like, does the hierarchy
it's up to the it's up to the network. No, the priority groups apply to the actual allocation, the offer of a position. Once it gets into the networks, they will do that however they choose, and I don't imagine they'll be taking into account whether you're an international student.
Can I just make one thing, and I just want to make a reassuring statement. I think it's really important to recognise that whichever hospital you do your internship is not going to in any way jeopardise your chances for getting onto a PGY2 training program. People have this sort of fear that if they don't get into hospital A and they want to do training program B, they can't get into it. And I think it's really important to recognise the fact that that is a myth. And no matter how hard we're trying to displace that myth, nobody believes us. You believe the ether, the gossip ether. Okay? There is no disadvantage to getting into training programs based on which hospital you've done it into. Is that a fair comment from Flinders?
Yeah, that's correct. Especially, I mean, I can talk from a medicine point of view. You know, the way we shortlist for basic physician trainees is all interns get first preference because they don't always get the preference of you know, their hospital. So we interview all interns that apply for basic physician training. So regardless of where you are.
Okay, yep.
In the past, bonded students who did an internship rurally got an extra year knocked off how much they owe. Is that still true?
I think if there's any left over, yes, that's still happening, but there's not too many out there from what I understand.
My
This is which
understanding-
bonded students are you talking about?
And there's two different types
To
of
bonding.
bonded, and I'd recommend that you actually look it up on the bonded website rather than, because I've actually not part of the, I'm part of Flinders Uni, so I'm part of medical education. I don't do contracts or any of that side.
There are two types
I
of
can
bonded. There's the
probably-
South Australian bonded
Yeah.
students, and I think that's the one that is stopping. But there's the national, what's called the HES. The answer to that question is we don't know. Sorry.
I guess I can just add to that. Certainly in talking to Country Health, Mount Gambier is the place. If you're a bonded student and you want to meet some of your return of service requirements, then Mount Gambier will assist you to do that.
Can I ask a money question? There's lots of sort of myths, I guess, around which hospitals pay overtime and which hospitals don't pay overtime. And are they real?
No.
Or do all the hospitals pay similar?
Most hospitals are working very hard to minimise overtime. And the reason for that is that the whole reason that enterprise bargaining things were brought in is for safe working hours, okay? So hospitals are working maximum, but every hospital's policy, and I can speak for yours and I'm sure you'll back it up, in every hospital's policy, if you work genuine overtime because there is a reason clinically to do that, and we all recognise the fact that there is, the official hospital policy is that overtime will be paid. Overtime will be paid. Now, some units, I have to say, are a little bit toey about that, and if they are, then you need to go and contact people like myself or the training directors, and we advocate on your behalf.
So it's untrue that 2EH made no overtime.
No hospital. I mean, the trouble is, you'll listen to one person who's had a certain experience and they'll tell you that, and that's generalised into a massive thing. It's
There's
all
definitely
rubbish.
people have had poor experiences in
Yeah.
individual units in every hospital in this state. But there are official policies and there are ways to protect yourself, and there is a union and there are all sorts of options. So yeah, you need to utilise, you're grown ups now, you're going to have to utilise the system. Yes?
Very quick clarifying question.
Oh good, I like that.
Central Health Network, if you get runner or queen leads, you have opportunities with both PLPs rotation.
Yes.
Yes?
Just a question about accepting offers. I've got a bit confused. So just say you were applying interstate and South Australia, and you got an offer from one of the networks, and you pressed accept. Does that mean you can't get another offer from an interstate, or do you just hold on to it and not press anything, and you're still waiting for another offer?
No, you need to either accept or decline. If we make you an offer, you need to accept or decline that offer within the time frame stated in that offer email.
Yep.
If you don't accept it, we will assume that you are declining it, and so we will decline it, okay?
Yeah.
If you, at some subsequent point in time, get an offer from an interstate for an interstate position, which remember it will be later further down the track, because in the order of the priority groups, interstate offers will come later. If you choose to accept an interstate offer, you need to come back in and withdraw from the position you've been offered here in South Australia.
They're quite separate.
They're quite separate. If you don't do that, then as part of the national audit, you will be contacted to say, we noticed you've got a position in South Australia and Western Australia, which one are you really going to take, because you can't do both.
Can we also make an absolute plea that if you do withdraw, please let us know?
Courtesy would say, tell people so that they can actually make sure the offers get given to the right people.
And the reason for that is you're actually depriving someone else of a position if you don't let us know.
Yeah, so please do that. Yep.
So how soon will the national audit contact the people who are holding one position? Because not knowing which home hospital they're going to hold on to this position as long as they can, which is going to delay the process for internationals to get a position in South Australia.
I can't recall the dates. They're on the website, the dates of the national audit, but I can't recall when they are. They don't start in the first week that offers start to go out, because obviously there needs to be a bit of time. But I can't recall what the dates actually are. Sorry. But if you look on the SAMA website under important dates, you'll find it there, or there's a section on national audits.
Yep.
So with the allocations of a hospital within the network, will it happen, say it happens between round 5 to round 6? Does that mean after round 6 they just get whatever's left over? How does that happen? Or is it like you try and accommodate?
You know what? We're going to have to try and work out how we're going to do it. This is new to us. Okay. But we will allocate within, and what will happen, I think, is once we've got the people who are allocated a network, the networks will then have to get together and allocate within the hospitals. Now, if people pull out from within the hospitals, then whoever's next on the list for the network will be given whichever the vacancy is. Does that make sense?
The hospitals don't give them their list of their interns right from the very first start. We don't start telling the hospitals until I think it's August, September-ish, because there's a lot of movement. We're offering positions and people withdraw, and then they, all of that sort of stuff. So we don't start giving those lists to the hospitals till I'm pretty sure it's August, September. So that secondary allocation is not going to happen until they've got those lists and that sort of stuff. So.
How many final year students are there? That's a tough question.
At the university?
At the university.
It's very similar to Adelaide, maybe a few more, but it's around that. There are.
We don't really know.
Sorry?
120.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Another really quick question. It was said earlier about the number being for
Yes.
registration that we get for education.
From the university.
So we all have to individually email.
I'm not sure
somebody
what the
together?
university is going, how the university is going to provide that number to you. AHPRA are providing it to the universities, and then the universities will get that to you.
Tom, do you have the answer to that?
Yeah, it'll go on the MLTU website, and it's individualised for each person, so you just need to check the MLTU website and then put that into the system.
Usually. Yep.
With those international students who were offered a place at the Royal Adelaide last year, were they mostly those who actually put the RISE as first choice or second or third?
No, nothing like that. I mean, what happens is once all the allocations are done, when do the internationals come in?
Group 3.
Group 3, okay. So at the Royal Adelaide, as far as I know, we filled all our positions initially from the first two.
So what happens is that, what happened last year, okay, now this doesn't mean it's going to apply again this year. What happened last year was there were more applicants for Flinders Medical Centre at the Royal Adelaide Hospital than there were positions. So all of those positions were filled up in the first round by local domestic students. Then as some of them withdrew further down the track, they were filled with whatever priority group we were up to.
Yeah. So whoever's next in the priority list gets.
Okay.
David, I was just wanting to confirm I'm not sure if I read it down right, but for category 2, I think you had 150 applicants, and was it 150 offers? Is that right?
Okay, so we offer to every applicant who is eligible and we approve their application. So if there are about 150 interstate applicants from Group 2, last year, we made an offer to 150 of them, but only 20 of them actually accepted that offer. But because they've applied to us, we actually have to go through that process of making an offer, and that's why it takes so long. Because by the time we get to those Group 2s, there are typically only a few positions available. So if there are, say, 10 positions, we've got to offer 10 positions to 10 of those 150. They all decline, we offer those 10 positions to the next 150. One of them accepts, 9 decline, we offer those 9 positions to the next 10. And it takes, you know, even with 2 to 3 days between each offer, acceptance, it still takes a long time to actually get through all of those.
Which is why if you can decline an offer and leave it for someone else, it's really important.
So as an interstate graduate with a Year 12 here, would it be realistic that I would get an offer at a hospital or that?
Certainly last year they all did.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to depend on how many applicants we have and how many positions there are. We do give priority to those who did Year 12 in South Australia, so we allocate them as the first lot of the interstate applicants, we give priority to those who did Year 12 in South Australia.
Okay, now I think we've probably exhausted most of the questions. I'll take one more, you lucky man.
I guess, what's the reason behind changing from the old system where we have hospital-based preference to the central network?
Look, if you answer that question, we will both know the answer to that. Well, the reason is that the state has moved into networks. That's a government policy, and it's not in the hands of any of the hospitals. That's the government policy. We're moving into networks, and that's the life for the next
There are some benefits.
Yep.
Okay, so if you think about hospitals becoming differentially more acute and less acute, then you'll get a different mix of experience in different hospitals. If you think about the different mix of specialties that hospitals might have, there is some sense in a network being able to provide a range of training experiences. You know, maybe not in the initial phases of a 12-month internship, but there is some rigor to that. The networks are not just about internships, they're actually a model of their
service care. It's a model of service delivery, really.
Yeah. So it's a bit wider than just internship implications.
Can I just say to everyone who's interested in Mount Gambier or they're not sure and they want to come and have a look, email me my information's back on the paperwork out there, but we would strongly encourage people to come and have a look.
Similarly, if you've got any questions about internships, my office is on the level 6 of this floor, of this building, the postgraduate education office, and our medical education officers will also be very happy.
So I will on the Year 6 website post up information pertaining to contact details for all the sites that have talked today. David Peterson will work very hard to get any information that's pertinent put up on SAIMET as soon as it becomes available, and I'm sure we can rely on him for that. It's just that some of it might not come to hand as quickly as you might like, because I think they're just chasing their tails trying to get some of this stuff organised, and perhaps we need to let them do it so that they get it done properly in time. But anyway, I understand your frustrations. Thank you very much for participating tonight. I hope it's been useful. Good night.